Recording when you're ready.
I'm good.
All right. 1.
2.
Son of a bitch. That's how you're going to play me?
Okay, I won't waste our energy. I won't waste it.
That's good. It sets it in the right direction.
The adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming. It's a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives.
My name is Trevor, and I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. My kids are not asleep, but they're 12 and 9, and they're upstairs fighting. I can hear them.
You've been playing it so risky these last 2 episodes.
That's
that
true.
That could so easily spill out into it. And anyone who's not watching it live, we do record this live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, I believe, in case you happen to receive a notification and see us. If you subscribe to any of those channels, you'll see the note. But for those watching live, we do have the video. It's pointed towards the door. I reshifted my office. The problem with that now is previously I had it the other way. And when my kids would excitedly burst through the door when I'm in a meeting, I can just mute and give them the quick shush. Right. And now instead, it's like the slow creak open and then like peeking their head through with like goldfish is falling from their mouths. Like, yo, you busy? It's like, yes, it's been the work day. I'm very busy.
That's perfect. That's good that way. It's kind of like this those old PC games where you had to like click around and you're like, oh, look, the door can just click open and the kid appears. Just
you lose points immediately. Honestly though, like I often will just invite them in. I could care less. Like it's folks I work with, fortunately they're cool. It's just sort of like, come and say hi, everybody.
Exactly.
I love those moments, man. I'm gonna miss it when they stop popping their heads in. All right.
Or now, you pop in your head to their stuff. You're like, hey.
Oh, man, they'll be doing their live stream.
Yes.
They'll be on Twitch, and then they're going to have old man dad poking. Oh, you're winning, son? What's going on?
That's her dream, right?
So good. All right, so for listeners of the show, like this year, I turned 40.
Yes.
This is the big one.
This is the big one.
I think it's cool. Like I feel almost selfish in a way, but I'm trying to like plan the year, like plan an event for it. Like I'm hoping to get my family all together for a party, and not as in like throw me a party and let's have a jubilation. I mean, like, if it's okay with you guys, I'd appreciate if we all got to dinner, because it's me. I love birthdays as it is, and this is like the big one. But it's officially time for a midlife crisis.
Oh, okay, that comes with it,
right? And immediately, like. So the thing I'm playing with right now, and we're going to talk through it from a dad perspective, is I'm considering buying a motorcycle.
You what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
For listeners at home, Jeff had the full-on hands in his face moment of, oh God, this guy. Why?
A motorcycle. I did not expect this as the midlife crisis vehicle.
Perfect. It started with... As a history, like I've actually really liked motorized vehicles. I always had. I had a little pocket bike I bought off my neighbor when I was younger. Okay. Used to rip around the schoolyard. It was so dangerous. The guy built it himself out of a lawnmower engine, just affixed it to a frame.
Are you kidding me?
I should not have been allowed to ride this thing, but I loved it. I took this thing everywhere. Rode it until like it basically fell apart. I bought a riding lawnmower.
Yes.
And again, the same type of thing, but just because like I could put gas in it, like deal with the oil, start it up, and I'd always mow the lawn because I like being on this machine.
Okay.
And then I since bought, I had the Sea-Doo a couple years ago, which was fantastic, like so happy, so pleasant, but it's not very practical.
You can't Sea-Doo to work? Like, what do you Sea-Doo the kids around?
Yes. It was awesome, but it was going to quickly, we could just see it spelled out that this was quickly not going to be as fun going forward. Right. And we had an opportunity because of the silliness with the pandemic and the prices. I sold it for the exact same price I bought it for.
Yeah.
After like 3 to 4 years of use. It was unbelievable. All right. So how this started, there's a dream car I have actually. And that's where the whole starting of this story. It's a 1990 BMW M3.
Okay.
If you've ever seen, it's like a cardboard box
Yeah. Yeah.
with wheels. Like it's so square, and it's. I've always adored that car. Always loved it, right? And the
Right.
initial thought for a midlife crisis year was, all right, what is there any way that I can buy it at the beginning of summer,
Uh-huh.
be careful with it, maintain it well, and sell it for about the same amount in fall?
Oh, you just want like a little like rip around.
Yeah,
And then
for my 40s, for the big 40 year, can I sneak in my dream car just for just for the summer and then like pop out? Maybe even if I lose like
Interesting.
1,000 or 2,000, you get the moment, right?
Okay.
This car does not exist for that price. like it's either derelict and falling apart for like 5,000, or it's mint gorgeous beautiful for like 40 to 60,000.
Right.
And it's from the 1990s. That is an expensive car, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Super Nintendo age.
they come with a
Let's go
Super
by the-
Nintendo.
Yeah.
You open the trunk and it's a Super Nintendo at every one. How did you know? So,
Wow.
but in looking for those, all of a sudden, like some motorcycles start to show up in that same feed. And the thing you notice about them, it's like, these are very cheap. And I know motorcycles, and I used to, I had that tiny dirt bike, and I love like four-wheelers and everything kind of mechanical. It's like, geez, that's like really cheap to sneak in for a silly, unnecessary splurge in my 40, right? Because I'm talking there, you can buy one. The ones I'm looking at are something like a 2005 Honda Shadow.
Okay.
Not that big, not that bulky. You can honestly get in at like 2,500. And the thing is just never gonna like stop running because it's this Honda as it's known. So sneak in, sneak out. So I got everything. There's so many avenues to talk about here.
I mean, you get like if people are listening and they want to get you a gift for your 40, let's just
Subscribe to our Patreon.
pitch together and we'll get Trevor his Honda.
Yeah, but anyways, so it's totally feasible. It's totally reasonable. Now here's the rub. Here's the challenge. Like I'll say this, I am gonna do it. Like I've looked through it. I've already signed up for the motorcycle course, so I'm ready to go. The other thing about this too is that you can just seems it should be illegal, but you can just go and write your test, your M1, and then
And
you
get
just start
on?
driving. You can just start riding on around.
That
can't-
seems pretty nuts to me.
You can't go on highways, but otherwise you're just kind of free to rip around. Away you go. You just write it. You literally, I'm not kidding. You write a test, a paper test, and then you just start riding a motorcycle.
That seems almost worse that you can't go on the highways because highways would make you afraid, right?
Yeah.
And on the streets, you're like, yeah, I could do it. And then you make a mistake, right? On the highways, you'd be terrified. You'd be
Horrible
like, I don't want to
mistakes.
be here. I don't
So-
want to.
But I've already signed up for the motorcycle course. It's run through university, and you just spend like 2 days like of intense training. Then you get up to your MEM2, blah blah blah. So like I'm going to make this happen. Now here's the parental rub though, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on it. I am a father. I am the provider for the household. I'm a father of 2 kids, and motorcycling is not known for its safety record. It's not a safe thing, right?
Yeah.
And I have had no, I'm not kidding. Like 2 friends who had owned them who gave them up because they became dads or they just had like near misses. They're like, you know what? I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to get it.
Yeah.
So I think that the place where I've arrived though is, I'm not doing this so I can get on the road and feel alive again and rip like 100 and like 200 miles per hour type nonsense. Like I just want to zip around town in sort of a fun way and just try it. And I don't want to arrive at 60 or 70 and miss the fact that I didn't give it a shot. Because I'll say this too, like this might not work. I might get to fall and I'm like, you know what, this was not actually any fun whatsoever
Right.
as a midlife crisis. But all that certainly enters into it. Like I'm very cognizant of that risk and what that actually represents. So how's that whole thing strike you as the risk factor, the midlife crisis factor?
I mean, I can understand like this so-called midlife crisis. I think it's just you get up to 40 and then you start taking stock of your life and you're like, all right, I'm gonna bite the bullet soon, so I need to start knocking off this bucket list to try and get through. I don't know. I am not a big bike fan, so I'm not gonna like sway you one way or another. But I will say, I've had some friends that have unfortunate incidences with a motorcycle, but they were younger. I'm not saying that they're like dads out there and have a dad mindset. They were just young and stupid and did stupid things. That being said, those stupid people are on the road with you. Like, so
All times.
I'm not saying don't do it, but like if you're gonna keep it like to the grocery store and back, by all means. But I wouldn't be doing, unless you want to like actually go to a track and just do that for a couple weekends and then not bother with actually having the bike.
That was a recommendation. It's funny, that was actually a recommendation from a good friend of mine, also a father, and an avid motorcyclist. He gave like some stunning advice, like really practical, like give your head a shake, like just be smart about it type stuff. And one of them actually was track day. He's like, look, when you get the bike, like take it to a track day. And it's not about, you're not going there to race. You're not going there to see how fast you can go. You're going there to like really understand your bike. You know, because it's one thing to kind of like hopefully pop around some corners, go out for groceries, as you say, but like bring it onto the track in a quote unquote safer environment, as far as like there's no kind of opposing traffic.
Yeah.
And roam through. It just feel like really come to understand your bike. That one sounded interesting. He said, you know, like, look, he's like, I'm going to tell you about, let's get through all the like the awful, boring stuff. I don't want to mention to you, but we got to talk about this. He's like, double check your life insurance that you're covered.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because it's just, this is a total practical thing, and I appreciate it. It's like, look, you got kids. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you got because some clauses have something around dangerous activities.
Okay.
And this would be considered that. So if you're not, all of a sudden, oh, it's okay, I'm covered under my life insurance policy. Well, I'm not because of this.
Right.
Disability pay. So because I do work with my hands as a designer, it's like if I fall and I crack open my hands and I can't work, like I need to have that coverage. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said,
the end of your gaming days. Like that would be it.
I know. That'd be the worst.
You'd be in VR without the golf club.
I'm going to
have to done.
I'm going to have to list that specifically. Listen, I have a podcast about fatherhood and gaming, and if I lose my gaming hands,
that's it.
I can't possibly do this, right?
You're gonna have a completely different podcast going on.
Yeah. So those things, like invest in a helmet, like a really good helmet, like spend the money on that, spend it on the jacket, like do all the stuff, just be smart. So I think coming at it from a reasonable dad perspective, I think it's going to be okay. Like I'm really excited for it, but 40, man, midlife crisis. Let's do this.
That is one big crisis there. Well, let us know what happens. It sounds like you're kind of set on going forward. So
yeah, if any of the gaming dads out there are riders, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear some, especially from a fatherhood perspective, like things that have worked, lessons you've learned, how it goes. Write out to us at newdadgaming.com or at newdadgaming. I'd love to hear your motorcycle tips. It's not going to be Road Rash 3 for a second.
I was about to say, like, do that and like, what was that old PC game? Is it Motocross Madness?
Oh, that one too.
Forever. Yeah,
that one is a good game.
Now, see you out there.
So moving on, we have was interesting. Another thing from my house. I'm kind of curious about where your kids were at with this series, but Lego Star Wars, great series of games. You know, I think we've recommended it a few times on the show.
Yep.
My son discovered it. The Skywalker saga came to Game Pass. Kids have just been all over it, absolutely loving it. Now, what happened is, though, they came to find out that this is actually a movie series. So all these all these stories and all these cool characters.
Wait a minute.
Wait, they created a movie based on this game?
Based on these games? That's awesome. I want to see it.
No, son, no, just you got your heart's in the right place, but it's not quite right. But what we started to do is we started to watch all of the Star Wars movies, starting just tonight, because of this game. He's like, "Oh, I'd love to watch this game. Like, I'd love to watch this movie. Can we do it?" And there we are. So now we're playing Lego Star Wars, which is awesome. We're also watching the movie series. Have you had that? Have you gone either way with your kids, where it's like game first, then movie, or movie and then game?
It's usually movie and then game. So a lot of we watch Star Wars early in their years, but usually they would see a movie, get interested in it, and then we'd find the game for it, and they're like, "This isn't as good as." Or like, do you know what I mean? It would be just a different experience. It's one thing to watch the movie and another to play the game. So I don't know where your kids sit on that, because those prequel movies can be kind of long and drawn out. But
yeah, episode one is still a banger. Like, honestly, like, it's just because it's action beat after action beat. Like, it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So I think episode 2, they're probably gonna It's a bit more of the love story stuff, so I think
Fade a
they're
little bit, yeah.
probably gonna push a little bit back on that one. But so far so good. So like it's kept up both sides. So like we're playing a whole bunch of the games. He's loving it, trying to get every character. Just unlocked the Rancor, I think it's called.
Okay, yeah.
So the huge, like it just squealing with delight as he stomps through with this huge Lego monster through the rest
Who
of the
wouldn't?
world.
Yeah, it's the
Oh.
best type. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was just kind of curious if like if there's any games to movies or movies to games. It's been an awesome experience now, so we get to experience this whole world of Star Wars because they were introduced by the game.
Yeah, it's one that I remember for the Wii, we got them. They were younger, but like the Cars games and stuff.
Right.
They were not bad, but it was just like one of those things where like they really enjoyed the movie, right? And they were young, but like that Pixar feel, which kind of the Lego games do, right? There's a lot of comedy, there's, you know, twists and turns that are funny, and then the game's like, I don't know, like for that the movie's like not so much that, and then for this the game was more about the racing, like it wasn't about the characters too much. So they're like, I'm kind of checked out on this. I don't think it lasted more than a day.
It's like a stock standard racing game from like PS2.
It was, yeah, it was not bad considering like who built it, and you know, what are you gonna do with that game? You're gonna make this NASCAR game and go around with these Pixar cartoon characters? I don't know. So it was okay, but
Yeah. I'd probably say that this Star Wars one is one of the better
yes,
movie games that's ever existed, because it's its own thing that really pays homage to the original, and it's just a lot of fun and interesting. Does any strike you off the top of your head as far as movie games that did it well?
Lord of the Rings. So
Yes.
Battle from Middle Earth was amazing. The newer ones, well, not new, but it has the other guy in it. I can't remember. Shadow of War. You know, those ones were really good.
That was amazing.
It's where they kind of like take that story and like push it into a game, and like that's kind of their set piece. So they're not going through the story beats, so to, you know, every single thing where you understand what's coming up next. It's more like, this is the environment, you're doing this other thing, and it really merged well. So that's one off the top of my head that I found awesome. The kids have not done that. I doubt they will be like, those are old games, so I don't think they'd be interested.
I think I bet the kids could get into Shadow of War. I think that's one that holds up fairly well.
Yeah.
And the Middle Earth one, dare I say it, and we'll get into some remakes later on, but I mean, dare I say if they could do a remake of that,
Yeah.
that would be, it'd be well deserved, because it is such a banger of a game. It did
was
so
very
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, gaming dads out there, have you had a similar experience with it was game to movie or movie to game? Do you have a favorite movie game adaptation? Would love to get that conversation started at New Dad Gaming on Twitter, newdadgaming.com. So speaking of remasters, we had an unbelievably happy Jeff this week. What was the good news there, Jeff?
You know, on the show, when we mentioned stuff that we're going to do, I think Nintendo is like, hey, you know what we should do? We should take what these guys are saying and we should do it like the next week. So
these new dads have their pulse on the modern culture.
yeah. So I think a couple episodes ago, or even last episode, I was talking about how the Steam Deck has emulation properties to it, and maybe I could go in and dip into Metroid Prime, which was a whole series I completely missed because it was on the GameCube, and I think it's for Wii, but again, that came late into the game. So Nintendo drops Prime Remastered like on their Direct that same day, and digital and physical, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign. Why? How could I not jump in? We talk about our comfort games a lot on here. Metroid is my comfort game, and this is one that I didn't. It was one of the ones that when it came out, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, first person kind of shooter. Metroid's not really about that. It's about going through the caverns and backtracking and finding these puzzles. As a newcomer to this, in this remaster, and maybe that's part of the remaster kind of vibe to it, it is a wonderful translation from 2D to 3D.
Amazing.
It is. I don't know how they did it. I have no idea how they did it, but they knew what they were doing. They have that Metroid feel to it. And anybody that's on the fence is like, I'm not so sure. Pick up this remaster. It will change your mind. I haven't put it down. I probably spent like 12 hours in this thing since Friday. And it's so much fun, and it looks great. It's clean. It's like 60 frames a second. It's runs like butter. And the kids, again, family affair, so how could I not do this, Trevor? The kids always watch me play Super Metroid. We usually do like an annual playthrough. And then when I got this, they're like, oh, we need to work with you to find all the puzzles and all this stuff. So again, getting the kids involved, it totally had to do it. And I can't recommend it enough. And it's pretty cheap, like Nintendo cheap. So 49. It's do you know what I mean?
You know the price that I went. As soon as you said Nintendo cheap, I was like, oh, so it's $80. Cool.
Yes, it's not $80. It's 49 Canadian, 39 US.
Cheap, man. Like,
that's not bad considering the amount of work they've done. And I wouldn't even call this a remaster. It's a lot of it's been redone. Like just seeing comparison shots. It's much more than just a paint job. It's been reimagined a little bit, and it's great. Again, I can't recommend this enough. So Super Metroid fans, or even just Metroid in general, I'm hoping for this one. And then if Nintendo's listening, 2 and 3, please. Because I missed out on those. So just get the whole set.
Was it literally Metroid Prime 2 and then Metroid Prime? There's 3 of this in this particular 3D series? Wow.
I believe there's 3, yeah. I could be wrong, so the audience can correct me. But I think I missed out on all 3 because, again, it was GameCube, and I totally missed that era. And I think we talked about that, too. It was like, I don't know. We had friends with GameCubes, but...
We had... No. Friend. We had
friend.
one...
Friend. We had a friend with a GameCube, and that was it.
Yeah, good friend of the show, Capozzi, was the one man I ever knew in
Yeah.
all of my circles to ever own a GameCube.
Yeah, so hopefully this will bring in a little bit more of the player base to something like this.
They just, man, I'm telling you, they really have seemed to dial it in this last couple ones. So Final Fantasy, which is a reimagining, Dead Space, which was an actual just true, I think, remaster, like it was almost HD upgrade, but I think they remastered some UI stuff even in that one.
Yes, yeah.
Or this on this, and this one too. I didn't know they were doing the upgrades, like I knew they were doing the visual fidelity updates. I didn't know they were going to do any like UI and like flow type stuff as well, which is really encouraging.
Yeah, even just the controls, man. Like I was looking at emulating this thing, and you had to like figure out the old school controls, and it wasn't working for a lot of people. And this is just twin stick, so you can go right into regular gaming, regular modern gaming. So you're good to go.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, hey, gaming dads, you are thinking about doing this one? Let us know. Drop us a note. So the last one that I had was I want to get your take on it. See if like it's something that you would have experienced, because what is happening now in our house is I'm starting to find a lot of requests for divided time with gaming. So specifically with Lego Star Wars, literally, my oldest is asking me to play with them. He doesn't want his younger brother to play with them because his younger brother's kind of just faffing about, like having fun. He wants to go through the missions. He wants to find his stuff. So he wants me. It's like, no. Let Dad play with me. You go do something else. Let him play for a while. So he's trying to like sanction that time. So as opposed to everybody's all together playing happily, we're all playing the same game, or we're just kind of all around playing it. There's like this literal delimitation of, okay, no, you go away. It's gonna be me and Dad time only. And it's kind of worked sometimes because I've done some where it's okay, like I'll do 20 minutes with you, then I'll do 20 minutes with you. But yeah, did you experience that as your kids were coming up? And if so, how did you guys handle it?
Yes, and we're still dealing with it, so it doesn't really go away. I don't know if that's hope or not, but yeah, again, my oldest is getting into more complex games, more scary games, more mature games, and they want to play those things with me present. So it's one of those things where they try to, hey, Dad, I want to play with you on this game. Okay, bye, younger sibling, right?
Bye, younger man.
Just kind of lead me that way. And even to play a game together that we used to do, my older one, it kind of gets more irritated and annoyed for my younger one not picking up the controls as quickly or going through menus, like constantly changing out whatever. Like Diablo 3 is an example. The pause menu pauses the game for everybody, and they're picking through their gear like crazy, right? And they're not reading the numbers as quickly as the 12-year-olds. So there is definitely a divide. It's about trying to, again, how I've dealt with it is not probably ideal, but I do separate some time out. It's kind of like that bonding time even. But we do have that game that we come together. Metroid Prime, again, was one where we both have the kids there, and I don't play it without both of them present. Like I can't play it with just one there, because that will start something.
Of course.
So we have that family game that we come back to, but it sounds like that's kind of what you have going on, though.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like there's a very clean solution. It does. I suppose it's really just about fairness, and I do like the unifying thread though that you had at the end, where it's no matter what the games that separate, which is fine. It's also kind of some nice one-on-one time, which is very cool to do with kids as well. But what you mentioned is like there's always that family time coming back together. So ultimately, you guys will all like come back and have a game you can all play together and still have that full-on experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way to. Again, if you come up with a better solution that works better, like just let me know. I'm willing to try. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's good to spend some time with even just, I don't know, some of the more mature games too are cool for me. I'm like, wow, we're getting into that stuff. All right, let's go.
I kind of hold up now. Ever since you mentioned that you played Diablo with your kids, I kind of hold it up as like the gold standard. Once they reach a certain age, it's like, man, if I could get into a real meaty like RPG like that with them, like, oh, that would be a blast. It's I'll cross that line at some point. But then when that day happens, I certainly probably cannot have the smaller one join us. So, but even for that one, I probably would need to kick him out of the room. So I'll be dealing with that same unfortunate scenario. It's like, oh, why don't you go upstairs with your mom? Yeah. Mom doesn't play games.
Hey, look, the sun's out. Why don't you go and shine Dad's motorcycle?
Go watch my. You want a nickel? Go watch Dad's last attempt to feel young.
That's right.
Go shine it up for me, would you? Oh, and on that insult, we'll wrap it up for the week. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. So, are you yourself a father who motorcycles? I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Any steps that you've taken, the lessons you've learned. That'd be amazing. Do you have any thoughts on the recent remakes as far as Metroid Prime or any other ones that have come about? Lego, have you gone from movie to game or game to movie? And any other of those titles that like would suit? We love to hear about all those things. Like interacting with dads has been one of the greatest parts of this podcast, and I'd love to continue doing so. Find us on Twitter at NewDadGaming or our website, newdadgaming.com. If you like the show, you can find us on all the major podcasting networks, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Caster, anywhere where you get your podcasts. Just look for New Dad Gaming. And what really does help the show, and is no word of a lie, it is night and day from when people had started to leave comments, to subscribe, and do all the else. If you do that for us, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating, and share it out. It does wonders for the show. It helps us connect to all the other gaming dads, and we really, truly do appreciate it. How are we going to get all the insights into the best movie games if we don't get the dads?
That's right.
Look, how can we influence Nintendo together for the next great remaster if we don't combine our gaming dad forces?
This show does it for Nintendo. So again, email, message those suggestions in. Nintendo's listening.
Everyone, thank you so much for listening. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old.
And I'm Jeff, already 40, and I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
God, so old, Jeff. You're just so old.
I know.
What's the 40s like, Jeff?
Oh, life insurance. You start falling apart.
Oatmeal starts to really speak to you in a way that it never did before.
You start talking about Super Nintendo all the time. Back in my day.
Would you say your midlife crisis purchase was the Steam Deck then?
Probably. It probably was, now that you bring it up. Probably.
So you can dip back into all your old glory days of gaming.
I can relive my childhood and be like, yeah, at the time this was great, but now I don't have time for it.
At least I have it.
That's
At least
right.
I have it. All right, everyone. Until next week, just because you became a dad
Does not mean it's game over.